What is up, everybody? It is Og here, back with another video, and today we are in STRAT. I'm super excited about this video. We've been talking about it for a while. A lot of people have been wanting it for a while, but I wanted to make sure that I had a good route down that you all could replicate so that you could do really well in your runs. And so we've been practicing a lot on Twitch. If you guys haven't watched the Twitch yet, definitely check out the link down below. Come watch on Twitch, hang out, ask any questions you have. I will always try to answer every single question that anybody has in the Twitch. Now, we use STRAT a little bit for the 1 to 60 power leveling challenge, so I'll have the link up for that above, and you can check out that, but it was definitely sloppy, and so we had to do a lot of refinement. By the end, we were doing really well, and we were actually getting down 9-minute clears, getting 27,000 experience per run, and it was absolutely crazy. But we also had people helping us with that, and we had a priest and things like that. So I wanted to go ahead and make just a 2 mage strat, just so that I could show exactly how to do it just with 2 mage. That way it doesn't matter who you're boosting, what composition, whether you have a healer or not, you can do it. So we're going to start off by going through the gear that I would recommend, the talents that I would recommend, and then we're going to jump into the pool itself. We're going to do the full pool all the way through, and then we're going to jump through and talk through some specific tips and tricks that you can use. And we're also going to be talking about the other point of view and showing the other point of view as we're going through as well. So let's get started off here with the gear. Okay, so let's talk about some of the gear that I have. I personally do not raid on my mage, so I don't have a ton of gear. The better gear you have, the better this is going to go, just because it is a lot of mana. You're talking about the max level dungeon right now, so it's going to take a lot of mana to be able to kill these mobs, so I definitely recommend getting any gear that you can. That being said, I do it in pretty light gear that you can definitely get yourself, so it is possible with lower gear. Things I do recommend, though, I recommend frost resistance, shadow resistance, and maybe a little bit of arcane resistance, but don't focus on it too much. The mages and the other casters and things like that cast arcane missiles, which could do some arcane damage, but the big ones are going to be shadow spells and then the frost bolts. Frost bolts are a major pain because they not only do damage to you, but they also slow you. So I run with 85 frost resistance with frost armor up, and then I also run with 52 shadow resistance and 21 arcane resistance. The way I get that is that I have a frost resist ring, I have another frost resist ring with some arcane resist as well, and then the 2 big trinkets that play a vital role and are engineering specific are the shadow reflector and the ice reflector. And now what these do is they actually reflect shadow and frost spells, which play a vital role when you're going through. If you can have 2 mages with engineering, you're going to have a much easier time with this farm, because you're both going to be able to reflect all the abilities when you have massive pools of mobs, and you're not going to be needing to worry about any kind of, shadow bolts or frost bolts breaking your blizzard, but you're also going to be able to run through and aggro more mobs because you aren't going to be getting slowed by frostbolt. So I highly recommend having engineering for this. If you don't, though, what I recommend swapping out for is the insignia of the Alliance or the Horde, and I recommend bringing this anyways just in case the other trinket's on cooldown, and the Rune of Dawn. So the Rune of Dawn is a great weapon or great trinket that you can get from a quest, and basically what it does is it increases the damage that you do to undead by a massive amount. Now, Blizzard does have a lower coefficient, so you're not going to get that full spell damage out of it, but if you're going for a Cone of Cold, it definitely is going to help. If you're going for the Blizzard, it's going to help as well, and it's just going to increase your overall damage and might provide that little bit of extra ticking damage that you need if you don't have enough mana to be able to take out those mobs. So just a quick rundown of all the gear I have. I get some extra resistance from my T2 helm. I have a 3-piece T1 as well running through. As I said, I don't raid, but I did go to some optional raids, so I got a couple pieces of gear, but nothing crazy. Outside of that, it's just pretty much blues and greens out of, Prebis and things like that. Things you can buy off the auction house really easily and just get for your tune as well. So there's nothing crazy going on. You could definitely do it in a lot of different gear sets, but more gear will help. Okay, now let's talk about the talents. So the talents, you have a lot of flexibility. You have multiple different specs that you can run. When you think about it, it depends on the strategy that you're going to be doing the pools with. Are you going to be using Flame Strike Cone of Cold a lot more than you're going to be using Blizzard? Maybe you want to do Flame Strike Shatter spec, but then you're going to have less mana, so you can't rely on Blizzard for the entirety of the fight. Or do you want to go for Blizzard and have more control over the mobs, but just take a little bit longer? Then you can go for the spec. And so what we choose to do is we choose to go for Blizzard. That way we can have control over the mobs, make sure that we're not running out of mana, because our gear, as I said before, isn't crazy. So what we do is we go into the Arcane tree, and we get pretty much my standard mana regen build, but with some slight differences. We get Magic Attunement, which decreases the magic damage that we take from various abilities. This actually plays a vital role, because when you have Ice Barrier and you're only absorbing a little bit amount of damage, then you can pop Magic Attunement, pop Dampened Magic, and reduce the amount of damage that you're taking for the Ice Barrier to last longer and get less interrupts on your Blizzard. Arcane Resilience, make sure that you have this for any high level dungeon farm just to increase your armor by a little bit when you're doing the pools. It you know, if you're getting hit by too many of the mobs in strat, you're going to die regardless, but this definitely helps. And then we have the 1 in clear casting. Frost is going to be the same exact tree as before. Just running through, skipping through Frostbite, skipping through Improved Frostbolt, and Winter's Chill. Now when we come over to Fire, this is going to be where you can have an alternative spec. And so I have my Flame Strike Shatter spec, which is what I recommend as the alternative spec. It'll be linked down below. And I'll also link above a YouTube video for the Flame Strike Shatter spec itself, where I go into depth describing how to do it and things like that. But basically this allows you to get back mana every single time that you crit with Flame Strike and Cone of Cold. And you also have a higher chance to crit with Flame Strike and with Flame Strike specifically. So this is nice because if you're just using a Flame Strike build for killing all the mobs, this can really help. And honestly, it might be worth having one mage be Flame Strike build and the other be Blizzard, because the Blizzard mage can constantly keep the mob slowed, while the Flame Strike Cone of Cold mage goes and runs around and just shatter specs or shadow spams the crap out of the mobs, maintaining his mana, but at the same time pulling off massive amounts of damage to the adds every single time as well. So it might be worth having one mage do one spec and the other mage do the other spec, and focus your rolls with that. So let's get started here. We're going to start off with the full clear. I'm going to try to let it run through and just talk through everything, because there's a lot of breaks. You basically break it down into individual pools, and so we could talk through those pools. Maybe we'll go rewind a little bit, but the majority of the time I just want to be talking about the individual pools. And so let's get started talking about some of the things that could definitely help. So personally, I am an engineer. Engineering for this actually is a major asset. Is it necessary? No. But is it a huge help? Yes. First reason, Frost Resist Trinket. Frost Resist Trinket, the Gyro Freeze Ice Reflector, will allow you to reflect any spells that you get hit with that are frost for 5 seconds. So in this first pool, what I do is I open up the door and run through and pop that Ice Reflector. What that's doing is it's reflecting all the frost bolts, so I'm not getting slowed while I'm going to that second pack. I pull the third pack in the back with the rank 1 Frostbolt, and then they actually run through the second pack, so we don't need to worry about pulling them. I run up, I counterspell the first pack on the left in the first part, which you're going to see why in a second, and then I go in a block. Without the Gyro Freeze, I could probably only get the first 3 packs, but that's perfectly fine. If you only get the first 3 packs, then just go ahead and pull that second pack on the next time through. Okay, so now what I do is I hop out of here. You can use a Nova if you want to, or not. But basically there's 2 main roles. The first role is going to be the kiter, and that is what Sleepyhead's doing right now. So he's kiting, as you can see. The second role is going to be the person who's going to be doing the pools and then killing the casters. The bane of these pools is actually the casters. It's not the actual elites themselves. The elites are easy to deal with. It's just melee that you're just kiting around in a circle, constantly blizzarding off of each other and going for novas occasionally. But the casters cause major issues because 1, they interrupt spells, and 2, they slow. And so they could do a lot of damage to you, but they could also just interrupt your spells and cause you to lose a lot of mana. And at the end of the day, you're basically with 2 people killing multiple packs of max level mobs. So you're going to need all the mana that you can get. So what I recommend doing is I recommend trying to take out the casters with the person who pulls and have the other person do kiting. And so what you see here was that I started off doing the pool. I pulled those packs. I blocked. I came out of that block, and I Nova'd. And Sleepyhead actually died here because he got too close to the mobs, but that's all right because I'm able to finish off these mobs in the end, and that's all right. Would not recommend getting near these mobs. As you can see with this broken cadaver, they actually explode on you, as you'll see right here, and do a lot of damage. So he just did 32% of my health. Try not to get too close to those broken cadavers, or else you literally could just get one shot right immediately from those mobs. So what I recommend doing is once you come out of block, I recommend focusing on the casters. Now, I Iron Grenaded there. You don't need to Iron Grenade, but it definitely could be something that could help. But Iron Grenade or use something like that, or just go for a Nova. Just make sure if you're Novaing, you're not Novaing the back mobs, or else there's going to be a major separation between the 2 mobs that the other person's trying to kite. And then go for Flame Strike, Cone of Cold on the back mobs, kill the casters, and then go join your partner. While all of this is going on, the person doing the kiting, so in this case Sleepyhead, is doing a max rank blizzard right off the bat to establish aggro on all the mobs and bring them off me in the block. That way we don't need to use an LIP or anything like that. And then he's swapping to rank 1. And your goal as the kiter is basically just to outlast the mobs until the other mage can get over and help you. So you're going to do a max rank, then a rank 1. Then what I recommend doing is running to the left or the right of the mobs, letting them stack up a little bit, Nova them, and just keep on kiting them for as long as you can until you're ready to get going. And I'm going to be trying to include a clip where I show my perspective as the kiter in this instance. And so we're going to swap roles just for one pool just to show that as well. Okay, so now that we did the first pull, we're ready to kill the A-bomb. You want to make sure that you pull the left group so that 1, you didn't pull them with the A-bomb, but 2, you set up for the next big pull that you can do. And so to kill the A-bomb, what I recommend doing is just frostbolting and moving back, and whichever person is closest at the time, just go for the Nova and then swap back, and just keep on shuffling back and forth, but keeping your 2 mages close together. And so here you're going to see Sleepyhead's going to go for a Nova, and then I'm going to start frostbolting like crazy. Once he breaks out, I'm going to go for the Nova, and then we're just going to keep on rotating back and forth, kiting all the way through. Really easy to kill, not a problem. But I recommend that you kill him when you're first getting started. You can pull him with the second group, and a lot of the times it's what we're doing now, just to speed up the group a little bit, because he does add about 1.5 to 2 minutes to your run. But at the end of the day, it's probably better to be safe when you're getting started and learn the pools, just get the mobs down and add that little 2 minutes in, because at the end of the day, 2 minutes when you're talking about a 15-minute run or so doesn't matter that much. Okay, so now that we have the A-bomb down, we're ready for what's probably the hardest pull in the entire instance. So it's great to have a Frost Reflector trinket, but if you don't, definitely use a PvP trinket here, because what could happen is that you could get frostbolted by one of the bombs, get slowed, and then be in some major trouble. But what we do is we come over to the right side, and what we're going to try to do is rank 1 Blizzard the very far pack. So if you Blizzard right on the corner, you can actually see that we get into the combat, and you pull that group. They're going to go ahead and pull the other group, so you immediately sprint down to the last group in the hall, counterspell them, blink back, and then you're going to block right on the corner. Now, if you need a cold snap block, that's perfectly fine. Do whatever you need to do to be able to block here, and then the other mage pulls off of you just like before. Now, with this one, I highly recommend using a Nova and going into Flame Strike from there. Reason being, the Nova here actually works much better because all the mobs stacked up to you on this right side, which means that they're not in a perfect arc around you, they're more focused out into the hallway. And so by doing the Nova, they're probably going to be more stacked. And as you can see here, they're already pretty well stacked right now without any mobs like being majorly separated in the back. When you are going for Novas, one important thing to focus on is you only really want to Nova the front mobs. If you Nova the back mobs too much, or you're not going around in a circle, what's going to end up happening is that they're going to get stretched too far. So you can kind of see here, like we have some mobs up in the front, we have some mobs over to the left, and in order to fix this, you immediately need to start moving to the side of the mobs. So the best way to handle this is just constantly work in a circle. So you're going to Blizzard here, and then you're going to work over to a circle to the left, and then Blizzard there, and then you're going to work over a circle to the top, Blizzard there, and the mobs that are in the back are going to be moving towards the front, and vice versa, and they're going to cause them to stack even more. If you're out of real estate, though, just keep on running backwards just like this, kind of how we're doing now. Nova the front mobs and let the other mobs catch up as you go through. This second pull is probably the toughest pull in the instance, because you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 packs, which with one being like a half pack, but you have 5 packs of mobs that you're killing and potentially an A-bomb with them. And so definitely take it slow, learn the pool, and you're going to be okay. But now you have the entire first room cleared out, and as you can see, we're only 6 minutes into the run, even with a death by Sleepy. And so it could be a lot cleaner. We could honestly shave off an easy 1 to 2 minutes, and if you kill the A-bomb, another 2 minutes on top of that. If you watch my 1 to 60 speed leveling challenge, the very last day, which I'll link up above, we actually had the timer go off at about 9 minutes for the entire pool. So you can really optimize, especially if you let the rest of your group help you out. While we're getting ready for this next pool, let's talk about some of the loot that you could be getting. The loot out of here is amazing. We're talking Dark Moon cards, we're talking epics, we're talking various blues that actually sell really well, like leggings. For these cloth leggings have dropped for us twice, which each time sell for 100 gold. There's a lot of good loot because it's at the maximum level. Also, what you could do is you could pick up these chests. And so these chests contain Stratholme Holy Water, which you can use almost as an iron grenade. And you can throw them just like an iron grenade, and they actually share the same cooldown as an iron grenade, and do a lot of massive AoE damage to all these mobs. As far as the rest of the loot goes, you average out to probably being, I would say, about 25 gold a run in loot alone, maybe even more. So when you factor that between the 2 people, that's not including some crazy drops, like each pool pretty much is like 5 gold split between the 2 people. And so when you factor that out into the entirety of the 4 runs per hour, you're looking at an extra probably 50 gold if you just loot for the people and you don't give away the loot. Now, if you give away the loot, obviously you're giving up that cost, but you can charge more for boosting. So how much should we charge for boosting? It's going to be variable on your server. My server personally is anywhere between 20 and 25 gold. Typically 20 gold is if you are not looting, or if you are looting, and 25 gold is if you're not. Okay, so now we're ready for pool number 3. And so as you see, what Sleepy does is he pulls the first 2 groups. So as you get into in the next room, there's a group in the front and then there's a group on the right. So he pulls the front group and the right group and then blinks back through this gate and comes right back to the beginning and then blocks right next to the wall. What that allows us to do is me to immediately pull off of him and have them all stacked very, very tightly into a nice, concise group. As you can see here, we just go back into our normal blizzard rotation. These have a lot less mobs, and so it's not difficult at all, and we have no trouble with these. But by killing those 2 groups, you're setting yourself up to be able to do some pretty large pools from there. So one tip that I definitely would recommend that you do throughout this entire time is be coordinating with your partner. Now, maybe once you guys have it locked down, or if you're soloing this or something like that with 2 mages and you're just dual boxing, obviously you don't need coordination. But a lot of the times you want to be able to talk so that you constantly keep up a blizzard. Because if we weren't talking right now or we weren't paying attention to when the other person's blizzarding, there's a chance that the mobs could just go run wild. And if they go run wild, you're going to be in some major trouble. So you definitely need to watch out for that. Another thing to watch out for is there's going to be these spawns that come up, and they are Eye of Naxx Rep spawns. And so what happens with those is that the Eyes of Naxx Rep just spawn, and if you don't kill them quick, they're actually going to spawn 2 gargoyles. The gargoyles move much faster than the regular mobs. They can be CC'd, but they will move much faster and actually make it a pain. So definitely be watching out for Eyes of Naxx Rep. They're going to yell, like, there's a living here or something like that, and that's what you need to be just ready to kill them immediately. The second thing you need to have ready is a / dance macro. Now, I know this sounds kind of weird, but basically, there are these extra kind of mobs you can aggro that are citizens. And so they're just citizens of Stratholme, but if you aggro them, they're going to get mad, they're going to come over and fight with you unless you dance with them. If you dance with them, they'll dance for 10 seconds. They'll still keep aggro, but they will dance with you for 10 seconds. An alternative is you can pick up this quest that basically turns you into a Ghostbuster, and you can basically suck out their souls. So there you saw an Eye of Naxx Rep spawn, and so we kill the Eye of Naxx Rep, and then we're ready for the next pool. But yes, if you get that quest, you can use that ability to basically consume them and not need to worry about them as you're running through. So here with this pool, we're going to blizzard that far pack, blizzard the second pack, face pool this pack, counterspell that pack to the right, and then blink through. Your other mage should be back in the second spot there, back kind of where I started the last pool, but that's okay that he's ahead of here because he doesn't grab aggro. If they are too close to mobs, though, they could be seen, and it could cause some big issues with your block. But as you can see here, this is the block spot. So this is going to be the same exact block spot as the first pool, if you're the person doing the pool. But you're going to just pull the front group and the right group, and then come right back to this spot through the gates. So exactly what I just did, except with the first 2 groups. So here, he starts blizzarding. Because they're all stacked, I definitely go for the Nova, and then I go for an Iron Grenade. Again, you don't need an Iron Grenade. It just helps stop the casters from casting on him. Flame Strike, Cone of Cold, the back mobs, kill them real quick, and then you're going to blink towards the other side of Sleepyhead. Now, as you can see here, there's a Spectral Citizen aggroed, and so we're just spamming our dance macro on them. Because if they're dancing, they're not going to be doing anything to you. And so you just want to be spamming your dance macro the entire time. You can do it during a blizzard. It's not going to interrupt your cast or anything like that, and that just keeps him from moving. You can also see that I have a debuff on me. So Strat comes with a couple debuffs, 2 of them very severe. The first one is this. So this disease lasts 10 minutes, and what it does is it causes you to have 0 health regeneration, including when you're eating. And you also taking nature damage. And so that's going to be like, I think it's 150 nature damage every 10 seconds. Basically, that means that you just take a ton of damage without being able to do any kind of healing towards yourself. And you can't heal in between the packs. So as you can see here, we're eating and we're drinking, but we're not getting any health up. So how do we handle this? Well, occasionally you're going to see an absorb go off, or you're going to see you take some damage. You then have 10 seconds to bandage yourself. So what I recommend doing is I recommend always keeping up Ice Barrier. If you always keep up Ice Barrier, then you're not going to have a problem with taking damage, and so you're not going to lose health, but then you just watch for the absorbs and you immediately bandage. An alternative is just to have a bunch of major healing potions and pop major healing potions to make sure you stay up at top life, as I do here. It's not the worst to deal with, but it's definitely a pain. And if you are low health, don't be afraid to use a block just to get it off, because it's better to use a block and stay alive than to not use a block and end up dying and have to do the run back or maybe do another pool again or something like that. So it's a pain to deal with. The second debuff is a slowing debuff, and so this lasts 30 minutes and slows your movement speed by 30%. So it's a pain, but at the end of the day, it's not the worst thing because you can block it off pretty easily. There is an A-bomb that pats over here. I recommend also killing this A-bomb before you pull any of the groups. Reason being, you could get punted into citizens and accidentally pull them, and just a lot of different things that could just cause the pool to be much less clean, we'll say, than otherwise. So here we just pull them back, and what we honestly like to do a lot of the times is we like to pull them into the back room, because there's so much more space in the room behind us than there is in this room for us to kite. There's also other pats in that other room. There's 2 ghouls that pat around, so you got to watch out for them too. So we just end up pulling him back into here. I'm going to go for this Nova here and absolutely miss somehow. I think he was just coming through the gate, and as he's coming through the gate, he can't really be interacted with, even with the Frostbolt or anything like that. So missed that Nova bad, but that's fine. So we Frostbolt here, and we just take him out. Again, you're just watching out for Eyes and Axtramus. Frosty in the back accidentally pulls an extra group just by running into them, which is kind of funny, but we're not even messing with it just because he pulled them and he ended up dying, so they didn't aggro on anybody else, so we're not worrying about that. But just watch out to make sure that you don't pull any extra mobs. Okay, so now that we have that cleared out, there's the 2 packs, or the 2 pats that are packing back and forth, and you can kind of see one in the top left here, and it's a ghoul. They're going to come all the way into this entrance area, so you want to make sure that you're really staying cognizant of your standing and where your positioning is to not pull them. But the next pool is actually going to be the last pool that we're going to do. There is one more pool that you can do if you're crushing this time, and that's to go down through the gate at the bottom on the right and then go into the next room. And so if you go down this hallway and you go down to the right, you're going to get into a double gated door, and you're basically going to spawn a bunch of rats. You kill the rats, you go through, and there's 4 packs in a perfect line right in front of you pretty much, 2 to the left, 2 to the right, that you can pull and block as well. When we're going with 2 mages, we're not going over and killing those packs, just because right now, you know, we're not messing with the A-bombs, we're killing the A-bombs, and so we're gonna end up at about 16 minutes. But if you get this down, you practice it a lot, and you can kill the A-bombs with the groups, then you definitely have more time, and you can go get those 2 packs as well. It's gonna add another probably about 4K experience to your group party, and so you can really be pushing the experience. Okay, so now with this last pull, Sleepy's gonna pull it, and so what he's doing is he's running down to the end, to this hallway. There's a group right here on the left, and there's a group behind them. Do not pull the group behind them, because you could pull the extra boss. But pull the group right here, right on the left, run around, run it to the top. You're going to blink through the first group that you find, and you're going to go counterspell the very, very last group, and then block up here. So we grab all the groups that are left, which is about 4 individual groups, blizzard off. He comes out, he goes for the Flame Strike, Cone of Cold on the back mobs. One great thing you can do if you're an engineer here too, if you're the kiter, is you can just pop your reflex. One of the biggest things to deal with is that you don't have a way to stop the damage coming in, but if you pop your reflect trinkets, then you don't even need to worry about the damage coming in, because you're just going to reflect it all, and so you just keep on blizzarding the entire time. Engineering is going to be king for this dungeon. But as you can see here, we get those back mobs down, and now we're just doing our standard blizzard kite here. I would recommend, if you can, move a little bit over to the right. Now you can see that they're all on me, so what I probably should do over here is go right to about where Sleepy is, group them up a little bit tighter, and then go for a blizzard. But this one's actually pretty clean, so we're not even worrying about it. Nova the front mobs. Watch out for that back mob, because now he's going to sprint through, but he's going to get caught in the blizzard, and you're pretty much good to go. So those are all the pools that we do. Again, if you cut down the A-bombs, you can probably go and do the extra pool. But let's talk about some of the experience. The experience is about 23,000 experience per run, which is phenomenal, because you're doing 4 runs, an hour at 15 minutes a run. Here we have 16 minutes, but Sleepy also died once, and we didn't pull the A-bombs. So you could definitely speed it up a little bit, and we went a little bit slow. And so you could definitely do 15 runs per hour easily. 23,000 experience per run. You're looking at roughly 92,000 experience per hour. If you pull those extra mobs, you're talking about an extra 16K experience per run. So you're probably talking about 108,000 experience per hour, or something around those lines. You can also have your group help you to speed it up a little bit. If you have a healer in your group, highly recommend using that healer to help you out, because end of the day, you definitely can take a lot of damage with this pull. It's the hardest pull. You're soloing, or duoing in this case, a max level dungeon. So definitely, if you need to, have the healers help out, and that could even speed up your runs. Another thing that could speed up your runs a ton is letting your group loot. It's going to give you an extra 5 gold per boost. That's an extra 15 gold per run. You're not going to be able to get the loot, but at the same time, you're also not spending your time looting. And so you're saving probably about 30 seconds to a minute per pool, and you can actually optimize it to go even faster and hit the lockout for sure. So those are some ways that you can speed up your run a little bit. Overall, the run is so much fun. It is really fun just killing a bunch of max level elites. But let's jump into some extra kind of tips and tricks that you can do while going through the run to make sure that you're doing everything as well as possible. Okay, so the very first recommendation I have is the second pool. As we said before, is the toughest pool possible. There is another way to pool this, and if you use this other method, it's going to make it a lot easier, but you also have to have the frost reflector trinkets, or you have to have something ready to go. So what you can see here is that we're going to pool it just like we did before. We're going to rank 1 blizzard on that far mob. We're going to hit that mob once. As soon as we hit him, we're going to start moving. But then where we're actually going is we're going to be going to a tree. And so counterspell the last mob, blink through. We're going to be getting hit by frost bolts. Use your PvP trinket, jump Nova, do everything you need to, potentially pop an LIP as well. Just constantly just try to get to this tree. Definitely make sure you bring a lot of consumables if you're trying the strategy, but it does make it a lot easier to kill the mobs. This is the tree we're talking about. If you block behind this tree right here, what ends up happening is all the mobs come stack on you, and your other party member can be behind the house and blizzard off you from the house. So as you can see, he's blizzarding right here. We're going to come out and immediately blizzard or blink next to him and start blizzarding ourselves. Then you rotate. And so what you do is that while one person is blizzarding, the other is running up, Cone of Colding, and then Novaing. And so you can Cone of Cold right there, but he just goes for the Nova, which is fine. But as you can see, the casters are actually starting to stack right with all the rest of the mobs, because they have to come around the corner to hit you because there's the house. So the house works as a perfect line of sight spot. So here we stay around the side. The casters have to come around the bend in order to hit us. We're not getting hit by the casters. We're AoEing down all the mobs as we go. And this makes this second pool much, much cleaner. So that provides a lot of benefits. Let's talk about the detriments. 1, you need to bring an LIP, limited invulnerability potion. If you don't bring an LIP, you run a very large risk of dying, because at the end of the day, there's going to be a bunch of mobs to chase you. If you get hit with a frostbolt at the wrong time, if you get hit by daze, if something happens like that, you potentially could be in some major trouble. So make sure that you bring an LIP. You also want to be engineering. It helps. Definitely have the PvP trinket, but it's also great to have the frost reflector trinket, because if the frost reflector trinket is up, all you have to do is just pop that frost reflector trinket, and then you're fine. You're not going to be getting slowed. By the time that you run through, you're just going to Nova those front mobs, and then you're just in a doubt sprint. You could also bring a swiftness potion. That's another option. And so swiftness potions are probably a little bit cheaper than LIPs, but probably pretty expensive as well. But if you pop a swiftness potion and you have your trinket and you Nova, you're going to get to that tree in plenty of time. So you might need a little bit more consumables, but it is a very easy strat if you're having difficulty with the second pool to kill them and make sure that it's as safe as possible. With some practice, this is what we're doing for probably the first hour and a half until we started trying to go for maximum speed efficiency. Okay, so the next thing I want to show is I want to show how to do it from the other strategy. So as you can see here, we have a clip from my Twitch, so definitely tune into the Twitch if you want to see these live and talk through them live. But Sleepyhead is actually going to do the first pool so that we can talk about the exact strategy as you could do as the kiter. Okay, so Sleepyhead's going to run in. He does not have the Frost Reflector trinket, so there's a very, very good chance that he's going to get slowed right off the bat here and then not be able to get the mobs as quickly as possible. And so what I recommend doing is, if that's the case, just block. Don't try to get greedy. He blocks there over on the side, which is perfect. Don't try to get greedy with the extra mobs. But then you run in and you go ahead and blizzard. One thing I really want to touch on real quick, though, is when to go in, okay? So what you can see here is that if we run through the gate immediately, we're actually going to aggro these mobs. We're going to be in their threat table, and then when he goes to block, they're actually going to come over and hit us. So you do not want to come out too quickly. You want to make sure that the mobs are a good distance away, kind of like your normal aggro range to these level mobs away, so that you don't aggro them when you come out. So stay a good bit away from the mobs. You can let all of them stack up on the ice block typically. Just be coordinating with your partner to see how many seconds left he has on block, and then go for the blizzard. So now what we're doing here is we're going to blizzard twice, and then he's killing the mobs in the back. We're perfectly fine just with our frost ward and ice barrier. We run over to the right, and now we can go for our blizzards. That is about as perfect and as clean as you could possibly do it. Obviously there were only 3 packs, which makes it nicer, but that was pretty clean. And so what you do now is you just kite into a circle. And so as you can see here, we have all the mobs pretty stacked up pretty well. And so we're just kiting back with blizzards. We're alternating and things like that. But now what we can do is we can also move over to the right. And so as you move over to the right, they just get more and more stacked. and you just keep on doing more and more blizzards. If one person wants to go finish them off because you have plenty of mana and things like that, feel free with Cold Snap or with Cone of Cold and Arcane Explosion. One last tip and trick that I have is to make sure that you're using a Rune of Dawn or another trinket that allow you to collect Scourge Stones if you're not using the Reflect trinkets, or if you just have the Reflect trinkets on cooldown. Reason being, you can get all these Scourge Stones and get a ton of Argent Dawn rep. I mean, I'm talking a ton of Argent Dawn rep. You can easily get, if you're doing this farm for a few days, at least Revered, if not Exalted. Why is that important? Well, you can get some extra gear and things like that if you want, but the main thing is that when Naxx Rep comes out, you need to have Exalted rep, or else you're going to be throwing a couple hundred gold every single time that you enter into Naxx Rep. So by doing this farm now, maybe you can even sell it as a rep farm to other people. You can go ahead and get a ton of rep that you're going to need to save you money later on when you're ready to raid Naxx Rep. All right, everyone, that wraps up today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please subscribe and leave a like and a comment below to let me know so. And if you guys have any other ideas for any other videos, please let me know in the comments below. Also, check out the description for the Twitch where I do all this live, and also for my Twitter and Discord where you guys can be notified of any future updates and when I'm going to go live on stream. So I'll see you guys in the next video.